Our big news is that Denny Sanford has endowed $12.5 million for the University of South Dakota School of Law. That money will fund scholarships for students at the University of South Dakota School of Law for any purpose. They can be need-based, merit-based, whatever our needs as a school are at the time. And that gift honors the legacy of Mr. Sanford's friend, Dave Knudsen. So going forward, we will be the University of South Dakota Knudsen School of Law.
Dave and I go back 34 years at the time that I first acquired First Premier Bank, and he's been my attorney and confidant all these years, and he's like a brother from another mother. He is really, truly a wonderful guy, and he is so competent in what he does. It is marvelous in every respect.
I think for the state of South Dakota, it's quite meaningful to see an investment of this size and to see the vision for securing the future of law in the state of South Dakota. As you know, our law school is the only law school in the state, and most of our graduates practice here in the state of South Dakota and close by in the region.
The news is tremendous because it more than doubles the size of our current endowment at the law school. It's one of the biggest gifts in the history of the University of South Dakota in general. More fundamentally, to put it in human terms, though, it'll fund up to 9 full tuition scholarships in every incoming class. So you literally are changing the lives of 9 students every year and giving us the opportunity to help 9 students each year begin their careers here in South Dakota. Pairing that with the legacy of Dave Knudsen, who has been a lawyer, a businessman, a public servant in the legislature and other settings, we're giving them the legacy of service to their communities, of excellence in their practice, and leadership in the world around them as something to follow and aspire to.
It was a total shock. Never was on my radar screen in any manner, and I have been very fortunate to work with Denny on hundreds of millions of dollars of gift agreements, but certainly the thought of him making a naming gift on my behalf was a total surprise. It is obviously a very distinguishing honor, a very rare opportunity to have a school of law named after you, and so as a lawyer it means a lot to me.
You talk about Dave, you're talking about excellence, service, and leadership. And those are the same qualities that the University of South Dakota's Law School continues to build on. And it makes sense for the two to come together for the naming rights, because when you look at Dave, it's the same qualities.
I first met Dave Knudsen when I was a trust officer in the banking world. I always had a lot of respect for him. Then I gained a lot more respect for Dave when he served in the state legislature. He was elected to the state senate, and he served 8 years there as a state senator, rose to majority leader. And no surprise, he'd served 2 times as the chief of staff for former Governor Janklow. And as a state senator, Dave was, as I said, majority leader. He was well respected by his colleagues, always calm, always logical, always very attentive to detail. Dave has interpreted the law, he's read and understood the law, explained the law, he's made the law as a legislator, he's led policy discussions that created the law. So it's entirely appropriate that this law school at the University of South Dakota be named in Dave Knudsen's honor.
He and I served as leadership together, but not only was he a majority leader in the Senate, he was the go-to guy in so many issues: education, property tax valuations, business law, trust law. He literally wrote the law on education funding in South Dakota.
Dave is not just a good attorney. Dave was not just a good representative of our business, but Dave is a great strategist. Dave can look at the future. He can see how things can possibly be and how to get there. And that's a rare trait in anyone.
Dave Knudsen is a very, in my opinion, unique guy. If you had questions, that you were convinced were just the dumbest things imaginable. It didn't faze him a bit. So he was always a very easy person to work with, and had an amazing skill set. So he was always someone, if you needed help, you wanted to go find him.
Even though we did not work in the same practice areas, he set a good example by his work in government and being involved in the community. And that was a really good thing for a young lawyer to view as to how a lawyer is supposed to conduct themselves, not only when they're at work with their colleagues, but how they have a responsibility to the community to get involved, and Dave did that.
Dave inspires lawyers, Dave inspires legislators. You can see people who served with him in the legislature and what they think of Dave. Dave inspires people in the business community. He is uniformly recognized as a creative, brilliant problem solver who is committed to making the world around him better. And so for me, to have a young lawyer look at Dave and the skill in his craft, the creativity that he brings to solving problems, and the inclination to find ways to use existing law or to change the law to build the world we want, is a perfect example for a young lawyer.
I've always said with Dave Knudsen, you are undoubtedly with the smartest guy in the room.
He has an incredible mind. I think he's one of the brightest individuals, not only in South Dakota, but probably in the country.
Dave was a partner at Davenport Evans, and certainly among the smartest lawyers there, if not the smartest lawyer there.
My mom and my wife would tell you that I rarely acknowledge that I'm not the smartest person in the room. With Dave, you have to.
As I remarked earlier, he is as smart a person, I think the smartest person I probably ever worked with.
The gift for the USD School of Law in the naming of Dave Knudsen is just incredible. An incredible honor for Dave, and it's an incredible honor for University of South Dakota to have their law school named after Dave Knudsen, after everything he's done for the state of South Dakota.
I believe this will hopefully enhance the law school and draw more people's attention to the school, as well as more and more students going into law, and for a great education which we give at USD.
The law school needs to produce good lawyers, and this is going to be just an incredible opportunity to retain the best and brightest people to attend the USD School of Law. It's huge. I can't overstate its significance.
Dave, congratulations. We're proud of the work you've done for the state of South Dakota. I'm personally grateful for the mentorship you've given me over the years, and look forward to celebrating this with you into the future.
David, as I said, I know this is not something that you would ever crow about, but believe me, the rest of us who've had the chance to work with you do, and you couldn't deserve it more.
Dave, congratulations on this honor. It's incredibly well deserved. It's earned. And I want to thank you for being a good example to me and to other younger lawyers in South Dakota for how to be a lawyer and to be a leader.
Dave, thank you very, very much for everything you've done, not only for me, but for the state, our community, and my organizations.
Well, I certainly, as I first and foremost would thank Denny Sanford. Again, it's been a very unique experience for me. Again, I think I've done $2 billion worth of gift agreements, and so to be involved in Denny's charity has just been a very enjoyable activity. And I think back in my own lifetime, the lawyers who were important in training me. Don Byerly was a lawyer legislator from Yankton, who was really the first lawyer that I knew well, and he was a lifelong friend and mentor to me. He probably inspired me to become a lawyer. Larry Pearsall, Rich Cutler, Louis Hurwitz were lawyers at the Davenport law firm that trained me and turned me into the lawyer that I am, I suspect. And so I think back to them with a great deal of thanks, and then certainly to my parents. My father died in 2005. My mom is 99 and still alive, and so she's going to be tickled about this honor. And my wife of 44 years, Dee, has been a supporter an important colleague and inspiration all my life, and my two boys, Michael and Mark. Again, that's now 3 grandchildren. That's an exciting addition. And then I have an older brother who is arguably my closest friend. And so those are the people that probably more than any others have had a role in shaping me, and I have to thank them for making me what I am.
Thank you, Mr. T. Denny Sanford, for your incredible visionary gift to the now University of South Dakota Knudsen School of Law.
Oh yes, Denny, you've done so much for this state, so much for so many people, and it's you often say you invest in good people, and with Dave Knudsen, you invested in one of the best.
Denny, thanks for your tremendous philanthropy to South Dakota in so many ways, from children to healthcare to education, and in many ways honoring those people you love and respect, just as you do Dave Knudsen.
On behalf of everyone at the University of South Dakota School of Law, I want to say thank you, Mr. Sanford. Thank you for this gift. Thank you for the generations of law students whose lives you've changed. Thank you for South Dakota for all the impact that those students will have in South Dakota and beyond.